Been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it. Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutsapparel.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride, but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers, and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Give Up the Ship podcast, episode 136, 7, something like that. I don't know why I can never remember. I need to start writing them down. I don't know why I can never remember the numbers. Second transition series one. So I know I said it was going to be a slow trickle. I forgot I had this scheduled until this morning. But we got it done today. I'm talking to a veteran service officer and a veteran himself. His name's Brian. He's an awesome dude. He's a listener, former CTR, and an expert on making a VA claim and leveraging VA benefits generally. And that's what we talked about. We got into primarily the nitty gritty of doing your VA claim for disability, which is a huge overlooked benefit by people, especially sailors, junior sailors that are separating after like 1 or 2 enlistments. But even retirees don't leverage it as much as they should and aren't aware enough of the process before the bitter end that they don't do the things that you need to do ahead of time, like in the last 1 or 2 years of service. And then they also don't take advantage of the benefits delivery discharge claim that's exclusive to active duty service members on their way out, right? Which is an accelerated claim that gets you your money sooner, gets you your rating sooner, et cetera. So, and that rating in and of itself, besides the check that you would get every month, is critical to you accessing all the benefits that we talk about, right? I mean, there are benefits that are accessible without a disability rating, but there are a tremendous amount of incredible benefits that are accessible to disabled veterans. And kind of reframing your understanding of what that means being a disabled veteran, it doesn't mean being like in a wheelchair or missing a limb. You got to kind of look at it like when you entered service, you were at 100%. And then based on the crazy shit you did over however many years you're in service, I mean, you were redlining and giving of yourself in a way that people don't do at normal jobs. Your disability rating is simply an articulation by the military of, hey, this is how we dinged up this person while they were in, and this is how capable they're going to be when competing with civilians who didn't do that for the same job and in the same career field, right? You're not as functional as you were when you first joined the military. And that's just a fact. Like nobody leaves without scar tissue. And that's what the VA claims process is for. And so we get into the kind of the mechanics of it, how you do it, what a VSO is, what they do for you, how to access them, etc. Went through a ton of stuff. I know I have a lot of reservists in the audience. I actually closed my book. I wrote down, it's about 52 minutes in, we do a bunch of reservist specific things. So if you're a reservist and you want to hear about that and how the process differs a bit based on you're not active duty. So like we talk a lot about like if you're active duty and it happens while you're on active duty and you go to medical, it's automatically service connected. Well, reservists don't have that luxury unless they're on active orders or deployed or whatever. So there's some slightly different processes that make it more difficult. Brian is also a reservist currently. So he got out, I think he said he was at about 10 years when he separated as a first class, made chief in the reserves, is still currently a drilling reservist. So he understands that as well. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me. I'll relay them to Brian if I don't know the answer. And I'm going to put, and I don't know if he's emailed them to me yet. I'll check. But when I publish the episode, eventually I'll update the show notes if I don't have it already. And then eventually at dgutspodcast.com, there will be a link in the primary link tree for like a separation resources page. I'm kind of aggregating all that information right now. And once I get to a place where I have a substantial quantity, I'll publish the page and then I'll continually update it as I go. So there'll be a bunch of links on that page for different veteran service organizations, resources for like state veteran agencies and just other cool nonprofits, whatever I can find that I feel like will be very useful to veterans. I'm going to add to that page. So like how Dan and I talked about the Honor Society, there will be a link to the Honor Society because it's amazing. So yeah, and for all of the listeners, if you know of things, if you're a separated or retired veteran and you're aware of resources that you think are amazing and that you think a lot of people don't know about, hit me up. DGUTspodcast@gmail.com. I will add it to the webpage. I'll vet it a little bit, but I'll add it to the webpage. I'm looking for all of the most useful things that veterans probably don't know about. And I feel like if you don't know about VA claims, you probably don't know about much. Not that, and that's not a swipe at anybody. That's just, it is what it is. I mean, I didn't know anything about it at the end of my career, and I was a Master Chief. So like I had to rely on friends and other resources and such. And we get into all that. I'm very excited about this episode. Like, we just recorded it this morning and I'm publishing it today because I was going to do a spin the yarn, but I'm like, nah, this is too cool. And I'm very excited to get this onto like Reddit and all these other places so that people are, like able to leverage the information and share it with people and whatever, just because I think it's such a valuable resource. So I hope you all enjoy this. Check it out. But yeah, man. So we'll start with your background in the Navy. Just give us a quick bio. You don't have to go into excruciating detail, but just give us the quick bio, and then we'll get into like kind of what you're doing now, and then off we go into the topic of VSO veteran claims.
Sure. All right. So I joined the Navy in 2011, and then
that's when I made Chief.
Yeah. And then
I'm that old,
right? I grew up in the Midwest, so I actually took the car to boot camp. I didn't fly anywhere. My recruiter just dropped me off, so that was fun.
Yeah.
CTRA school, and then flew out to Hawaii where I rode submarines, Dursip style. On top of got my dolphins on the USS Hawaii.
Nice. Do you know Russell Van Dusen? He was the cook chief on that boat for a while.
This was 2014 that I rode that boat.
He might have been gone already. It was right around then, though. I don't know. Whatever. Go
ahead. Then they decided that I needed to go back to Pensacola to teach students.
Nice.
So I taught students Morse code because I'm one of the few in the Navy that still knows that.
All right.
I think there's like 40 billets in the entire Navy for people
that know Morse code. Well, don't like pilots know it and shit too? Don't they have to teach?
No, it's just in movies. Automated. It's all automated.
All right.
And then last tour, I went back to Hawaii to work the national mission out there. Then the detailer screwed me over. So the only orders I ever actually chose in the Navy were my separation orders.
Nice. Yeah. That's like, I feel like that is much too typical. And like, hopefully it's changing now. They have that like marketplace shit they're doing now or whatever. But like, same with me, dude. Like, as a senior chief, I was doing fucking battle with the detailers. Like, I had to call the Force CS and the Flag CS out here just to get. And I'm like, dude, I'll go to any submarine. I don't give a fuck which one. Just anything that's in Washington, because my now wife worked at the shipyard here, and I'm like, I need to go back to Washington so that I can be near my wife. Yeah. And I even told, like, I called the special projects guys back, and I was just like, I don't want to do this, but I'll come back to projects if I have to. And then finally, like, I had to get all those Force and group and all that CSs got involved and just beat the detailer in a submission because there's a ton of boats out here that needed chiefs. So yeah, dude, it's not fucking detailing, man. The whole process just.
I had an EFMP category attached to me, and I still couldn't get on.
Yeah, And I know tons of guys, same thing. EFM Cat 5 or whatever the fuck it is, the worst one, and just they're still trying to send them to Guam or fucking Diego Garcia or something, and it's just like, why do we have to have this conversation?
I told him any ship or shore duty on the West Coast, and he said I can put you in Norfolk.
Yeah. Thanks. Close, but no. I'm not going.
No thanks. No thanks.
Fucking idiot.
So instead, I chose separation orders. Started looking for jobs immediately. This was 9 months because I was planning on staying in.
Yeah.
So 9 months before my EAOS, I was like, all right, fine. Return the Seaway quota.
Well, yeah, and for clarity, that's a vessel and a charge book behind you. So you were a chief on your way out. So it's like
no.
Or was it reserves? It was
reserves.
Okay,
my
bad.
So I bounced as a first class in June of 2022, and then got my reserve Seaway quota.
Yeah.
And immediately transferred over to the reserves and found. And I actually missed a year of eligibility.
You could probably do
on my way out. A special selection board. I thought about it.
Well, no, I was gonna say a BCNR. Like they can just backdate because you are already promoted. They'll just change your
No,
dates.
because I
Now
got
you
out
are though.
in June of
Uh huh.
22. I missed that year of eligibility because I did not take the reserve chief's exam. I took the active duty. So my
Yeah,
exam
but
was
by no fault
invalidated.
of your own is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
But
could it have gone any other way? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you, by no fault of your own, you lost a year of eligibility, which is a
mhm,
BCNR. I bet you could get some back pay and shit and
yeah,
change your time and rate date, but that's another topic for another time.
yeah. So while I was on the way out the door, I had to find a job.
Yeah.
I was not gonna go nuts, and found through where we ended up moving,
Hmm.
um, the county job posting for veteran service office. I had no idea what it was,
Right.
but they had veterans preference hiring. They were really
Hmm.
looking for a veteran to come in and do claims assistance for veterans. And I was like, look, just because I'm not in the Navy doesn't mean I can't help people that were in.
Right.
Um, so did all my interviewing and onboarding while I was still in Hawaii on active duty. Chain of command was like, we know you're getting out, take care of your business. So they were really
Hmm.
supportive there.
That's good.
Had a job offer before I even left the island.
Nice.
Flew out here because the wife and kids were already out here, and started this job before I was technically off active duty. I was still on terminal leave because that's how much of a
That's
workaholic
awesome.
I am.
That's awesome.
It's about a 6-month training process for us, six
Mhm.
to 9 month training process in order for us to be flying solo and working on our own.
Is it
Um,
like you're working with another VSO or is it
mhm,
school or okay?
both. So
Oh, okay.
because I'm based in California, they have a whole training pipeline through the California Department of Veteran Affairs.
Hmm.
The keyword being accredit you with
Yeah.
the VA. So everyone who is accredited with the VA has their own special Office of General Counsel number.
Okay.
And if you have that, you are legally allowed to sign certain paperwork for veterans that you represent.
Okay. And is it so you're accredited, meaning you don't work for the VA, you work
That's
for an organization that works with the VA to do the claims?
the best part about my job is that I don't work for the VA
Why is it the best part of your job?
because
What's the
there are certain things that I have access to within the VA's computer system
Mhm.
that benefit the veteran that the VA
Okay.
would just willingly give up. Right.
Right. So you get to be a better advocate because of that
Correct.
access. I
So let's
gotcha.
say,
Okay.
for example, you got out 40 years ago.
Mhm.
You don't know what your medical records contain from when you
Yeah.
were in the service.
I
Yes,
I
you do.
didn't know what my records contained as I was still in retiring. I had to like go look and I
Well,
documented a lot in the last like 2 years because I was like on shore duty and
guess who has
um
all those records?
yeah, yeah.
The VA computer system that I have access to.
Right.
So if I can
Nice.
scroll through all of your medical records, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to know exactly what's all in there because I
Right.
can go and look.
Nice. I
Um,
already know you're better than my VSO. That dude sucked. Like I don't think he was a veteran though. I think he was just a guy that was like, and they do this weird thing here cuz I'm in Pacific Northwest, right?
mhm,
And so they're all based out of this Seattle office
regional
and
office. Mhm.
yeah, and they send them over to Bremerton to this shitty temporary office. They don't want to be there. They're like pissed that they had to cross the water and you know what I mean? Like it's one of those
Yeah.
where I was just, why the fuck isn't there somebody over here permanently? Like look around. There's like 3 bases within
Yeah.
spitting distance of each other and there's not a VSO permanently over here. You're in Seattle. Like there's no military bases over there. Like what the fuck?
That's
Like
because
yeah,
they're working out of the VA's regional office. So
yeah,
the
yeah.
VA has given them office space in order to do their job.
But it was through
Whereas,
DAV, so I was expecting because there's an office in Bremerton.
mhm,
And so you're like, why isn't there a VSO in Bremerton? Because I showed up, I just looked up DAV and showed up to that office when I had an appointment. And they're like, you're in the wrong place, dude. And I'm like, what? And like, this is the
yeah,
only DAV office I'm even aware of.
yeah,
And they had office space in like, it was like a bank building in downtown Bremerton. And it was clearly like not an office that, I mean, they came there like once or twice a week. And so
yeah.
I'm just like, oh God. Like,
So
yeah.
for the good of the veteran, California's Department of Veteran Affairs stipulates that every county should have a veteran service office.
That's cool.
Every county in California, I'm a county employee. I
Okay.
do not work for the federal government. I do not work for the VA. do not.
That's how it should be, dude. Because then you can be the advocate instead of like being beholden to the VA. That's
Yep. The VA does not give me a dime to do my job.
Nice. I like it.
So with that, the whole training process, going through the California's accreditation process, and then going through other organizations like DAV, American Legion, Vets of Foreign Wars, I'm accredited with all of them.
Okay.
So if a veteran is signed up through the Veteran Benefits Administration to be represented by one of those organizations, I can help them immediately.
I wonder, because when I was looking at,
I can have them sign some paperwork and get access in a week.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, because I was looking at those jobs, but they were all on USA Jobs.
That's all
and
federal.
I think they were all through the VA, but I didn't realize. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but like looking elsewhere because like the reason I didn't pursue those jobs was because I would have been getting dragged to Seattle, and I'm like, fuck that, dude. I hate going over there. It's like Mad Max over there, and so like. Yeah, I didn't look elsewhere. So I wonder, I should start looking like county, state, like organizations like DAV, shit like that.
Well, and on top of that, right? So not to,
Yeah, so sidetrack too hard.
Right, sidetrack too hard. The way that California does it is because I'm accredited with multiple organizations, they actually, without getting too far into the weeds, help pay for our county to run our office. The state does.
Oh. That's sick. Right? I bet your office loves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have tons of capabilities. I have a va.gov email, right? So like I'm fully into the VA system. I have it looks like a CAC, but it's called a PIV card. It's the same thing. It's still got the microchip in it and all that other jazz. It gives me a virtual machine into the VA's computer systems. Dope. So a veteran gets a deposit in their bank account from their disability, but the letter takes 10 days. It doesn't take that long to change a number in your bank account. It takes a lot longer to get a letter through the post office.
Right.
So I get a phone call saying, "Hey, I got a deposit of a bunch of money into my account. What the heck is this for?"
Right.
I type it in and say, "Oh, your letter's in the mail. This is your disability percentage," right? So I can see everything instantly, whereas them, it takes a while.
That's awesome, dude. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so we go through all that training, and then we have yearly training that we're required to do in order to keep our accreditations and all that stuff. It's it's ongoing because every time Congress passes a new law,
right,
I got to be ready to
things
respond.
Change. Yeah, you got to change with the policy. So like you're a VSO, that is your job, primary duty effectively is to help veterans put in their VA claims amongst, I'm sure, other things.
But it's not just disability claims too. Like
right.
Any benefit, basically.
So like Chapter 31, like the VR&E, the vocational rehab stuff, and
all of it.
Because that's what I used to go to school. That's a sick benefit.
It is probably one of the best.
It's and most people don't know about it. And for those that don't, it's called vocational rehab, or I think
Veterans Readiness and Employment.
Yeah, it's VR&E now. Yeah, Veterans Readiness and Employment. Like they changed the name, but
same acronym, different name.
Yeah, it's you basically get a second GI Bill if you're and I always forget. Do you remember like it's greater than a certain percentage rated? It's like 30 or something, or
no? So typically they'll want 20%. They want something that interferes with your ability to train, gain skills, move into a career field that interests you. Right. Those are the big things.
And there's more to it than just like I utilize the education part of it, but there's also like employment assistance and all this other shit that training or certification or something.
And the education piece doesn't have to be college.
Right.
I have people that have used it to go get a commercial driver's license or go to a firefighting school.
That's cool. I didn't even know any of that. Like, I don't know anything other than like what I use it for, like, which is just college. It's basically, it's functionally the GI Bill, except it pays for all my books. It reimburses you for every paperclip, pen, fucking everything. And like, even I'm at University of Washington, and they do, through the bookstore, like I just go in and say, this is what I need. And even on the online bookstore, I can put VA account and then put my student ID number in, and it's all free. So like and then I just go pick up my bag of shit at the bookstore for free. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so like, and I use it too, because you get $75 per term on just shit like materials, and I use every fucking penny of that just cause I'm like, I'm getting everything back from the federal government I can. So I just order like batteries and Sharpies and pens and shit I don't even need, and I'm just like, yep, I'll save these for later because fuck y'all, I'm getting all my money back.
At some point you're gonna need it, and you're not.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah. Uh-oh, my internet being weird. It's telling me
it's telling me that too.
Oh, maybe it's okay. Never mind. We're good. It's back. Okay. It might have been your side of it. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I don't know.
It looked like it said mine, but anyway, yeah. And then they'll buy you a computer and a printer every 3 years too, right? Is that accurate?
It depends on the program that you're in, but I don't see why they wouldn't, right?
For college, they offered it. My VRE guy offered it, and I'm like, bro, I have it's not brand new. It's a few years old, but I have a MacBook Pro, and then I have my iMac that I do the podcast stuff with. I'm like, I'm good now, but like, I'm just going to wait till right at the end and be like, you know what? It's time for a new MacBook, like a new printer, just cause.
If you can justify it to your VRE counselor as a need for you to get the training or get the improvement that you need.
Yeah. He didn't seem that the dude, I'm not going to use his name because I don't want to be that guy, but like his downsides are he's hard to get a hold of a lot of the time. And isn't always like responsive to the particular need, but like he gets there eventually because I think he's just like super overwhelmed with the number of people he deals with.
Yes.
But then he's so chill, he doesn't give a fuck, man. He's a veteran, and he's just like, whatever you need, dog, just tell me. And he's like, he's like what you were saying earlier, like he'll bend the rules as far as he can to help me get where I want to go using the program benefits. So it's like he can fucking take a week to get back to me if he wants, because he didn't want any justification. He was trying to just immediately at the very beginning of my utilizing the program, he was like, printer and computer? I'm like, no, I'm good, dude. He's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm sure. And he goes, all right, we'll wait till the end then. He goes, right before you're done, we'll just get you a computer and a printer. I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna say no to free shit, but it's such a cool program, man.
Yeah. But yeah, the requirement usually is 20% disability in order to access the program.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, this is not written anywhere, but my personal opinion is because a lot of veterans claim tinnitus, which tinnitus is a 10% rating automatically.
Yeah.
That they're weeding out those people that only have tinnitus as a service connected.
Yeah,
that's my personal thing. That is not anything written in any type of VA stipulation. That is something I've inferred from the regulation.
I think it's hilarious that I got tinnitus from cancer, not the military, but everybody's like, oh, you got your military grade tinnitus. And I'm like, yeah, not like I didn't have it from I thought I had hearing loss. And then they kept telling me my hearing was excellent because I do the regular schmegular audiograms. And then I just was like, no, this is bullshit. Like something's wrong. And they sent me to a specialist, and I got diagnosed with what's called an auditory processing disorder, where there's like if I recall correctly, I'm not a doctor, obviously. If I recall correctly, there's 4 like categories that they test, and 2 of mine were dysfunctional. And it was like effectively like short-term memory for auditory like intake. So like your sensory inputs, it's like they would give me these number combinations and they make you like pause and then repeat them back. And in the like 10 seconds they would have me pause, I'd forget like 2 or 3 of the numbers. And I'm just like, and I would hear them and I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 5. Got it. 10 seconds later, I'm like, 2, 5. Fuck, I don't fucking know. And then the other one was dichotic listening. So like if you're in a crowded room or more than one person is trying to talk to you, or there's like the TV's on and somebody's trying to talk to you, that's the worst for me, because it's like if there's something else going on that interferes with like you trying to talk to me, you're Charlie Brown's teacher. I just can't fucking do it. Like if I have a podcast or a book on or the TV and my wife starts talking to me, she gets so pissed because I'd be like, wait, what? And then I'd say it again. And she would get mad at me. And that's why I thought I couldn't fucking hear. So I'm like trying to get tested. And then they finally told me, they're like, no. And it sounds like selective hearing to a lot of people, but it's like, no, it's a real thing. And but that was one of the ones they didn't rate either. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what happens? Like, even if I'm trying to get a job waiting tables, I'd be fucked. You know what I mean? Like I can't, you know what I mean? In a busy restaurant, I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. So I thought that was ridiculous that they didn't rate that, but it's a whole nother rabbit hole, I guess. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. That was my tangent. It was like, I got my tinnitus from fucking cancer from radiation therapy and not from actually being in the military. But it counts because it happened while I was in the military.
It's still a disability. Doesn't matter how you got it.
If you happen to in service, it's military connected. Goddamn it.
Yep. So the biggest piece for those that are still in active duty is make sure you actually go to the doc.
Yeah.
Actually talk to them about what's going on. The normal amount of pain is zero.
That's my favorite meme on the internet. It's like, how much pain you today? Oh, the normal amount. The normal amount's zero. And he's like,
normal amount.
Love it.
Right.
Love
it. Like for
every time a corpsman, some HM3 will be like, are you in any pain today? I'm like, I'm in pain every fucking day. Every day, all the time, every waking hour, I am in physical pain.
Yeah. And corpsmen specifically are the worst about getting things put into their medical.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
All they got to do is walk to the next office and get taken care of.
I would think they'd be
doesn't mean it's
gaming the system and shit.
Doesn't mean it's getting written down because they can always go next door, right?
Oh, I got you. They have access to the medicine cabinet and shit, so they don't.
Well, I'm not saying that, but if you got a bunch of HM3s that are all working together, they're all good friends,
right? Hey, your buddy takes care of you.
I jammed my thumb. Can you get me an ice pack or whatever it is, right? It doesn't necessarily get written down.
Sub IDCs are like that too, man. Like we had a party. Well, I'm not going to use his name either. I think he's retired now, but my IDC on my first boat, they had a party. Everybody was hammered, including him. And they were fucking around grilling burgers, and he like schwacked a dude with a spatula and split his hand open. So then he just went inside, grabbed his kit and stitched the dude up, and they just kept partying. And like he used to give us IVs when we were in foreign countries, and we would party, and the next morning we'd all be sitting in dock space with fucking saline bags in our arms.
Yep. But anyway. So there's that, and then the BDD claim process is a specific. It's not a specific form, but it is a specific timeline when it comes to filing.
Right. Before we go down that rabbit hole, I just want to I want to spend a little more time on the documenting your shit, just because so for me, it was while I was on active duty, the last 2 years, I had a bunch of old heads, like retired guys I was on a flag staff. So there's a lot of like retirees that had some fucking contracting job. And then buddies of mine that like my cobs and just friends of mine that had retired a few years before me. And they kept telling me, document everything. And I was like, and I had a couple of really great IDCs too at that command that my buddy JC was just pushing, like, get everything in your record. So like the last few years I was on active duty, and I knew this too, just because being older, having been around for a really long time, and I was retiring, not separating after 4 years, but this whole concept still applies to people. I mean, if you're separating after a few years, I don't give a fuck. Like, you should be spending that last year at least at medical documenting fucking everything. And it's because you spend the majority of your career not documenting shit, because everybody wants to be useful. Nobody wants to be a burden. Nobody wants to get benched because they can't do their job and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't want that sense of purpose and belonging to the organization to go away. So you avoid it. And I did the same thing, dude. I was standing diving off the watch on a submarine with a giant cancerous tumor in my face and brain, because I was like, I'll just wait till like all the sea time's over. And when we go to the shipyard, I'll go get my nose fixed, because I thought it was just a deviated septum. And then I found out it wasn't. But like, all the way, like that last year or two, like, you should be living at medical. And I started doing that, where I was just going there constantly complaining about fucking everything just to get it in my medical record, because I think it was during TAPS or somebody told it to me or whatever. But it was, if you get it documented, and even if they rate it at 0, the VA is on the hook for fixing it, especially if it gets worse. So if you go complain about your knees and it's in your medical record while you're on active duty, it's automatically service connected. That doesn't mean they're going to rate it at anything. They could rate it at 0, but 0 is a rating, right? Correct. So it's like, if it's rated and it's in your shit as military connected, and then your knees turn to fucking dust 5 years later, they got to fix that. And the other thing that I thought was really, really great, and I'm really glad people told me this shit, because I like, once you're out, they're going to be like, nah, you fucking did that shit at home, bro. Like, they're not going to want to service connect fucking anything. If you document it on active duty, it is automatically service connected if it's in your active duty records. So like, there's no argument, and you can go, if you want a very vivid illustration of this, there's a Facebook group called Veteran to Veteran Info, and it's a bunch of people that separated from the military and are now trying to go back in time and like get claims for all this shit that happened to them, like military sexual trauma, mental health, their knees, their elbows, their whatever. And I'm sure you'll get into some of this. It's like, it's fucking brutally difficult to get the VA to admit it's service connected after you're already out. But if you do it while you're in, if you just document every little fucking tick, I did dumb shit like carpal tunnel and fucking urinary frequency and just dumb shit, because I'm like, if shit goes off the rails in 10 years, and my medical history is already fucking complicated and riddled with issues. So it's like, if I get really, really, really bad in 10 years, I don't want to have to like incur all this debt and all this bullshit trying to fix it myself. It's like, nah, I'm going to go to the VA and be like, fix what you broke, motherfucker. So it's like, it's really fucking important if you're on active duty and you're going to get out, like you're within a few years of getting out, whether that's retiring or after a 3, 4, 6 year enlistment, whatever. Spend that last year, no matter what, going to fucking medical and documenting everything. And then if something acute happens, like on my, for instance, on my first submarine, we were doing a food load. I think it was for like my first deployment too. Somebody, you know how you do food loads on submarines and there's those 4-bag bundles of flour. So it's 40 pounds of flour, like shrink wrapped.
Yes.
Somebody dropped one of those from the top of the forward escape trunk straight down onto my head at the bottom. Like, and it like right onto my head. I saw spots. I fucking fell down. I was fucked up. My neck hurt. It was like, it was a shit show. I walked that shit off and finished the stores load. I didn't go to medical. It's like, if shit like that happens, go to fucking medical. Get it in your record. Yes. Like, it's so important that you get it in your record, because trying to go back in time, even in service, like if I had tried to be like, hey, 20 years ago, somebody dropped this thing on my head, they're going to be like, okay, what the fuck do you want us to do about it now?
Didn't happen.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's really, really, really important for all of those reasons that you go to medical and document.
And I'll go one step farther.
Okay.
You don't necessarily know when your last tour is.
Exactly.
You're retiring.
Exactly.
Right? So these things happen all throughout your career. You should be documenting them, right?
Right. Dude,
I was atrocious about it. Everybody is atrocious about it.
Same. I had a bunch of kids that I had worked with on previous boats that like, my buddy, shout out to Carnivus, my dude, he was a torpedoman. They medically retired him as a second class when he was like, he joined older. So like his body he had already done like construction. I think he was like he was some crazy shit, like a metallurgist or some shit. I don't know. He did something with like welding and metal work before he joined the military. So he already had some mileage on him when he showed up, but yeah, like 10 years in, 8 years in, something like that. He's a TM2. His back fucking explodes. Like, he's getting back surgeries. His spine is fucked up, some disc shit. And they ended up medically retiring him. He planned on staying in for fucking ever. Like, he didn't plan on going home, but shit happens. Like, he got injured at work. My buddy Curtis, during a fire drill, like they had the smoke curtain down and he ran headlong into the watertight door because somebody shut that shit. And he thought if the smoke curtain's down, it's supposed to be open. That's why we have a fucking smoke curtain. And so like he at full speed into that door, fucked his neck up and got disqualified submarines. And luckily they let him go into like the enlisted aid community and shit. But then he had more issues later. And I don't know if he's still in. Like he was he was like on limb-due, and they were doing all kinds of shit as a senior chief in DC, with his neck and all that bullshit. So I think he might have got medically retired. I don't know. I haven't been in touch with him since I worked with him, but yeah, I mean, same thing. Like, it's like that shit happens a lot. Like, I know a lot of kids that were my A school students that got medically retired after like 4 or 6 years, or just med boarded out or whatever.
I mean, I rode submarines. I'm not submarine sized.
Yeah,
I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
Right,
dude.
Not
I had an
submarine
ANAV
sized.
that was 6'7" once. Yep. He had to sleep with it. You'd go down to the first class berthing, his knees would be poking out of the rack curtain, dude. Clanton.
Yeah,
love that dude.
Yeah, like you want to know why? That's why, right?
Yeah,
there's not a ceiling in that place that's tall enough.
Yep. And I'm sure he's got all kinds of fucking medical. His spine's probably a fucking question mark. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably got all kinds of medical issues as a result.
Question mark, whether you're looking from the side or the front.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so everything documented.
Everything
documented. It does not matter when you get hurt.
All right.
That it's in your
BDD, I find equally important because everybody fucks this up, and it breaks my heart because, like, you're effectively giving up front of the line privileges. And I've had kids like this LS1 that worked for me at my last command before I retired. Mental health thing ended up separating at his EAOS, and he just decided to get out. And he was at like 10 years. He actually was selected for chief and declined the promotion because he just was like, no, like he was having acute mental health issues at the time. He's like, I'm not going through the fucking chief season. You're the reason why I'm having a meltdown right now. So he separated, but he was freaking out about money. Like, he's like, I have no plan. I have no income. I'm not going to have a pension or anything. I was like, bro, calm down. Let me tell you about this little thing called a BDD claim. And I was like, you're going to have some form of disability. I'm like, minimum 50% if you go get a sleep study. Because I feel like every single submariner that's done more than one boat has sleep apnea, if not just one boat. But
isn't that the meme where the chiefs mess on the boats? Powers a surge protector for all the machines?
100%, dude. On my second submarine at my first chief store, I was a baby chief. And all the chiefs, I snored so goddamn loud that the whole chief's quarters was just like, bro, go get a fucking sleep study done. They're like, oh my God. Like, 1, I can't sleep because you're loud as fuck. But 2, you need it. Like, you're dragging ass all the time. You're tired all the time. Like, blah, blah, blah. So, I did it all.
So BDD claims. Number one thing is you have to file it between 180 and 90 days from separation.
Right.
If you miss that window, it is not a BDD claim.
Yeah, and you're back of the line, and that shit can take 6 months to a year, or fucking who knows, you know?
Well, here's the other benefit of a BDD claim. Everything that you claim on that disability claim form, which your VSO can help you fill out, if it is a diagnosed condition, either by a military doc or what they call the compensation and pension examiner doc.
Is that the like they send me to a contractor?
They send you to a contractor and they evaluate the disability. If that examiner or your current PCM in the military diagnoses the condition, guess what? You're still on active duty when you do those exams.
Yep.
That
happened with me, man.
Right.
They diagnosed me with shit on the spot. I was like, huh? Like patellar something with my fucking knees and carpal
patellofemoral syndrome. Yep.
Something. Yeah. Something. Yeah. And the dude was awesome. I've heard horror stories about how they like treat you like you're a lying piece of shit at some of these evaluations. But my guy was fucking dope. And he was all about like, well, what else can we do? You know, like, and he wanted to advocate as well. So yeah, they diagnosed me with a handful of things on the spot.
They did the same thing with me.
Yeah.
Military doc thought that I just strained my shoulder during PT. I went to my CMP exam and he goes, hey, you tore a tendon in your shoulder, right? Now I do. Thanks.
I do now. Yeah. Same. I went and complained about my knees at active duty medical, guy. And he was just like, yeah, dude, I don't know why your knees hurt, but they're fine. Like, and they did x-rays and exams and shit. Yeah. This dude just did an exam and he goes, yep, patellar femoral syndrome. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to ask any questions. Go ahead and write that down, dog.
You know what an x-ray does for muscle injuries and injuries?
Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. Well, that's what they did for my back too. My doc had me do an x-ray and I'm like, That was me. I'm like, I mean, I don't think my spine's broken, like literally. I think
Yeah.
something's fucking inflamed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that going to show up on an x-ray? I feel like you need like an MRI or something, but whatever. I'm not a doctor.
So
It's
the
fine.
BDD claim stuff is immensely important.
100%. Yeah.
If you can get those exams while you're on active duty,
Mhm.
they don't have an argument to say that it didn't happen on active duty.
Right. And
You're,
like
you're
when
eliminating a third of the possibility of why they would deny it.
Yeah. When you separate, you're going to get a check. Like, because if you don't have a pension coming, because there is the, like, it displaces your pension because your pension's taxable income. So like up to 50%, right? It displaces
if you're rated
that.
at 40% or lower. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a pension and you don't get rated above 40%, you're not getting an extra check. You're just getting your pension, but it's tax free. But if you go beyond that, you get a second check. So like I'm 100% disabled, and I have a Master Chief's pension. So I get my pension check, and then I get a separate check that's the 100% disability check.
Yep. Which
is fucking incredible. Like I haven't worked in almost 2 years, and I have the flexibility to do that because of those two checks. In particular, I mean, I get the stipend every month, the BAH for the VRE, effectively GI Bill BAH, because I go to college full time. But yeah, I mean, without those 3 checks, dude, I'd have to be working.
Yeah.
But also, what was I gonna say? Fuck, I lost my train of thought. For people that are separating, not retiring, like that LS1, he's freaking out about money. I'm like, bro, like 50% is like, it's over $1,000 a month. I'm like, you're gonna get a check every month.
Yep.
And so like that, for people that are separating from the military, I feel like they freak out about, like, and even a lot of people re-enlist for the financial reasons of like, if I get out, I'm going to be like financially destitute. I have nothing going for me. It's like, that's not true. If you are aware of this type of stuff, it's like you could separate as a E4 or an E3 after 4 years and have $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, depending on what's going on coming in. I mean, you might even be 100% depending on what happened during your service, which is like around $4,000 a month.
Yep.
And it's like tax free. It's not taxable income in your pocket every month. And because if you do a BDD claim, that shit hits like right as you get out. Like I got my
after.
It was about a month. I ended up getting my pension, and this was during the you're not going to get your DD 214 for a fucking year shit. I got my DD 214 quick. And I got my pension and my disability within like a month of actually leaving service.
Yep.
So it was like, that's the why it's so important, is like when you're separating, that's a check in your pocket every month. So you could go start school and be getting a disability check every month. So you don't even have to work part-time like most college students or whatever to like pay rent or whatever you're doing, like whatever your setup is. It's a huge overlooked benefit. And then you get into like, if you're going to go to college, you got VRE access now. You've got VA healthcare, which is another thing we haven't even, I mean, like there's so many benefits that
the chain of benefits that come along with a BDD claim is
incredible.
Basically no end to it.
Yeah.
No end to it.
Yeah.
I mean, as an example, you pop out at 50% as a retiree. You get your pension, you get your separate disability check because they're not offset anymore. You can apply for your VRE, right?
So me saying that was old info.
So the way that it works is if you are at 40% or below, you will get your, if you're a retiree, you'll get your pension check, and a portion of it will be made tax-free. Equal to your disability percentage. Okay. As soon as you cross that threshold to 50%, you're now collecting both, with your pension being taxed and your VA being taxed.
And is it the full 50% or just the 10% that's not offset?
No, it is the full 50%.
Oh, that's
so. So let's say, as an
I get
example,
the full 100% check, but I didn't know if it was like once you pass it, you just get a little bit until you get to it or whatever. I don't know.
So let's say, for example, your retirement pension's $2,000. And you're at 40%, which is like around $700 for this year.
Yeah.
That's $1,300 taxed, $700 tax free.
Yeah.
But a total of $2,000.
Right.
You file another claim, or you get bumped up to 50 somehow, right? Cool. Now you have $2,000 of a pension taxed and
Yeah.
$1,000 of VA
Yeah.
tax free at the same time.
Gotcha.
Congratulations, you just got a 50% increase in your income for
Right.
getting 10% more disability.
Yeah, dude. And I can't even tell you like how fortunate I feel. Like I own a home. I have a mortgage every month. I did refinance and like pay off all my debt before I fucking retired. So like my cost of living is preposterously low for the like climate, like the economic climate we are in right now.
Yeah.
Because I bought my house in 2016. My interest rate's super low. My mortgage payment's a joke. But I refinanced, so it's a little higher, but I mean, you couldn't get a 1-bedroom apartment for my mortgage payment right now. And then I don't really have any other debt. But like the ability for me I took time off completely. Then I started school full time, but like I don't work. I do the podcast. I go to school, clean the house, take care of my dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had, and to be fair, I'm not getting 100% disability check for no reason. Like I'm not nearly as capable as I was when I was in the military. Like I'm fucking, I tell my wife, I'm like, I got like 4 to 6 productive hours a day in me, and then I'm fucking useless. And that's like
Yeah.
when I was in the military, especially the last probably 8 years, it was like I had the productive hours I was at work. So it's like 8 to 10 hours at work. When I got home, I'm fucking useless. I'm laying on the couch and then I'm going to bed. I didn't do anything. Like, I mean, on that shore duty, I was going to CrossFit. So I would leave work, go home and change, or just go straight to the gym with my gym bag and then go home. But then I'm useless. Like I don't have the energy to do all the things anymore. And it's like nowadays it's less. It's like 4 to 6 hours, man. So it's like I have the energy to do that homework, and I do podcast shit, and even I've been behind on podcast shit lately. So it's like, I'm getting that check and it's amazing. And I have the financial flexibility to be at home a lot and not be on fire about having to get a job. But the flip side of that coin is like, I'm kind of scared to get a job now. Like I want to work from home or something just because I don't have the gas tank I used to. Like I don't want to go drag my half awake ass to work and be grumpy and fucking miserable because of all my medical shit. And it's like, because I don't sleep well, like I have insomnia, anxiety, all the bullshit, sleep apnea, are like the worst sleep apnea ever. So it's like I don't sleep well. I'm tired all the time. Energy levels are low. It's hard to focus. Like I got evaluated by these fucking I forget what they're called, about my like cognitive abilities and shit. And they're like, you're fine, you're just tired. I'm like, thanks. But like there's shit that happens like that. I used to have a memory like a steel trap, and now I live like even the last submarine I was on, I had to start living my life by sticky notes. I'd have my LPO texting me, reminding me to do shit when I got home because I would forget. And I'd have this like important shit I had to do to like bring something with me to work because we were going to sea the next day or something, and or call someone or email someone or whatever, and shit like that. Like I was never that way. I mean, I remembered fucking everything, and then yeah, towards the end of my career, I couldn't remember my fucking own ass to bring to work. And so it's like all those things. It's like I all that is to say, like I know how fortunate I am, and it's a really, really great benefit. But at the same time, it's like if you're getting rated that way, it's usually for a reason. And it's like that reason is to allow for you to have that flexibility because that condition is going to hold you back, or conditions in my case. Like there's all this shit that makes me way less productive and way less able to compete in the job market. Or if I got a job, to be less productive and maybe get lower evaluations than I would have, and promote more slowly and whatever, because I can't fucking keep up with these people.
Well, and it all stems from how the VA views you as a veteran. They have certain stipulations, one of them being called the presumption of soundness, where the day you walked into boot camp, the very first day, if it was not listed in your medical record as needing a waiver or an issue at MEPS, you are a 100% able-bodied, fully intact, nothing wrong with you other than what's listed person.
Right.
You are then on the job 24/7
Yeah.
for however many years you do, whether it be 4 or it be 24.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that happens
Yeah.
during any of those days is technically an on-the-job injury that is now
Right.
potentially rateable by the VA as a disability. Because
And
a disability is a workman's comp claim.
And
That's
that's
what it is.
That's a really important point too of like, it's not just what happens at work. Like you can wrap your
No.
car around a telephone pole and that's fucking military connect, that's service connected disability shit. So
I know
like keep
somebody-
that in mind. Snowboarding accident.
I know somebody who is a passenger in a car and the car went off the side of a cliff. They
Damn.
both him and the driver survived.
Good.
His back is pretty screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's rated for it.
Yeah.
Happened while he was on duty.
Yep.
Because you're on duty 24/7.
Yes, sir. I dig it. So benefits delivery at discharge, very important. 180 to up to 90 days before you get out is the window. Thou shalt do that if you want.
The window is so the VA can potentially get you into those compensation and pension doctor's exams before you're out of the military.
And like I did my I submitted mine like at day 180 and it took, I mean, they were pretty quick farming me out to like the contractor or whatever and getting the appointments. But I mean, it took a few months to get through everything. So it's like waiting till 90 days out is a little sketchy to like actually get it done.
Yep.
So I would, like at day 180, start the process and then, go about getting all those appointments. But like, so can you go into some of the nitty gritty of like, what is the process? Like, how does one do a BDD claim?
Sure. So the BDD claim exists on the exact same form that any veteran would use to file a new disability claim with the VA.
Okay.
The form's called the 21-526EZ. You can Google it if you want to. It's not that big of a deal. It's right on the top of the VA's website.
I mean, they really should just be going to see somebody like you, and then you're going to be the one that like populates it and helps them out, right? And then that's how mine went. The DAV guy was the one filling it out, and then I just signed some shit and we submitted it. But so I delivered my records. And
that's the majority of what I mean, other than doing my research and trying to get veterans connected to other benefits and things like that. That's the majority of what I do, right?
Okay.
I'm a professional at filling out federal forms, right?
It's important if you want to get the benefits.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but not only that is we can have a conversation sitting across the desk saying, hey, what were your normal job duties?
Yeah.
What was some of the stuff that you were exposed to? What were some of the injuries you had?
Yeah.
All of those types of things can be added to the claim as certain disabilities. And the large portion of what people think of as disabilities is not necessarily everything.
Yeah.
This is the book, right? This book is massive.
Yeah.
And it's all the veteran benefits, right? Here to here is just medical conditions.
Yeah.
Right? It's like 70 pages of medical conditions that you can be rated for.
Yeah, dude, I tried. Like, I had this buddy. He was my last IDC before I retired, and he's kind of he was a dork about stuff. He was really smart. He had like a PhD already, and like he was a really smart dude. And he was like directing me towards the CFR. He's like, go through it, familiarize yourself with it, and it'll give you an idea of the types of conditions that are claimable. So then when you go to medical, you're more informed, blah, blah. And dude, I tried to go through that fucking thing and make sense of it. And like half the shit I didn't even understand. So I'm just like, it was helpful to like scroll through it, but like I would go into like certain conditions and I'm like, I don't know what any of this shit means. It's like intended for doctors and shit. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
It's a merging of legalese and medical language, right? It's not going to make sense to everybody.
Right.
That's why
it made sense to him because he was a medical guy and a PhD dork and in like, I forget what his PhD was in, but I want to say it was like medical administration or something. So he was like the perfect guy to be like, he's like probably one of the dudes that wrote it or something, or like that profile.
Yeah. So, I mean, getting in there, sure, if you want to go through it, but finding a VSO in your area, who cares?
That's the key, man. My VSO fucking sucked. Like he did the absolute bare minimum. Like he filled the form out and like submitted it. So that's cool. And I had such a thick medical record with such egregious shit that I knew I was going to be 100% no matter what. And in my mind, I was just like, whatever I get shortchanged on, I'll just go back and fucking do a supplemental claim later or whatever. I just want to get this done. But yeah, my VSO was garbage. Like he didn't help me. Like he wasn't advocating for me. He didn't give a fuck. He was just there to check the box. So yeah.
Well, and then like it all depends on what you're actually diagnosed with,
Mhm.
right? So there's the big thing is there's 3 parts to every VA claim.
Mhm.
Current diagnosis, like whether it's on active duty if you're doing a BDD claim or 20 years later,
Right.
has to be current. You have to currently have it.
Yeah.
Something that happened in service, whether it's an injury, an exposure to a toxic chemical like the burn pits or whatever it is, right? And then the link between the two. Right? I got to connect them somehow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on active duty doing a BDD claim and you have a current diagnosis, well, I don't have to prove the link because you're still on active duty. You've already just having a diagnosis, you've substantiated
Right.
all of those requirements.
Right.
You want to make somebody's job easier and get yourself some money in your pocket at the end of the day? That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea when I was doing it. None. Zero. Didn't know about this. Didn't even know about the job that I'm currently doing existed.
Right. Same, dude. As I was retiring, I didn't know fuck all. And like, I had guys tell me, like, I mean, my IDC was really up on the stuff because he was like at the precipice of a med board. But I mean, he was like a 28-year Master Chief, so he could just retire. But like, he was looking into it because he knew he was on his way out the door. So he was just doing all his stuff. And he was already like up on some of the stuff enough and then did his own research because he's a medical administration dude. Like he was smart as fuck and he did all his own research and he helped me a lot with like understanding like, okay, this is a VSO. This is where you can find a VSO. This is where you go get your medical records. This is where you know, whatever. Like he was super helpful. I think a lot of it was because he was in the midst of going through it, but he was also a corpsman Master Chief. So it's like, he's a guy that knows a lot of stuff already that is relevant to the process, but then because he had done all his own research because he was going through it too, he was very helpful. Like
he knew the whole medical side. All he had to do was figure out the legal side.
Right. Yeah.
But those are the main things if you're coming off active duty, right? And then on the flip side of the house, I still do the weekend warrior Navy Reserve stuff.
Right.
You want to talk about it being a pain in the butt to get something connected that happens on one
talk
of your
talk to me. I don't know fuck all about the Navy Reserves, but I know a lot of reservists listen. So I have like Christina DiRienzo is a reservist that's about to retire, so I'm sure she'll be very interested in it, and she's the homie, so I want to help. But also like there's a Reddit subreddit for Navy Reserve, and I know a lot of those folks are very supportive and listen. So go down that reservist rabbit hole for me because I think it would be really helpful for a lot of people because that's a really interesting point is like that it has to compound the difficulty level of this shit just because of how ridiculous the reserves are because you got like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So yeah, let's go down the reservist rabbit hole.
So the reservist gold standard is a line of duty statement from your medical.
Okay. Line of duty statement.
An entire process through the medical department that I'm not entirely familiar with. I've only ever seen one. It is basically the entire Navy Reserve command admitting that you were injured and this was the extent of your injury while you were in a duty status.
Okay.
Because you were in a duty status, it is now eligible as a VA disability.
Okay. So a line of duty letter is effectively like the equivalent of the active duty service connection that's automatic. It's like the best case. Okay.
Yes. Best case scenario. Now, there are other ways to prove it. But you're going to need buddy statements. You're going to need, I've used old LESs from DFAS to prove that they were on duty because they were paid for it.
So like they had a medical visit or something that was while they were in a duty status?
Let's say they got into a car accident and they went to the hospital on this day, right? Yeah. But they went to the regular hospital. They didn't go to a military treatment hospital. Cool. Well, I have all these records that say you were admitted to the hospital on, February 17th. Well, you were on duty.
You just need proof they were in a duty status.
Right. I need proof that you were in a duty status. And if I can get an LES that says that you were on duty the 17th, then you were paid for that day.
Okay.
So there's ways. You got to be creative. You got to look. The rules are not made to be broken, but you can bend them pretty far. Right. If I can prove it, if I can justify it, it's a legal process.
It's like a theme, dude. It's like, because Dan's thing was I bend the rules as far as required to win the hardest fights or whatever. Like, so we were just talking about this shit in the first episode of this series. I feel like this is gonna be a theme. We're gonna bend the shit out of these rules to get you what you need.
The book bends. The book bends.
Hell yeah, it does.
Right?
That's funny.
So if I can prove it, right?
Yeah.
To the extent that I need to prove it, which to the VA is at least 50%.
Okay.
The VA has specific language when it comes to proving a disability. If it is related to service by at least as likely as not. That is their language, not mine, because it doesn't make any sense.
I was just about, how do you measure that? Like, how do you
50% or greater?
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm like, how do they
tie goes to the veteran, basically.
Okay. I'm like, how do they measure it, what percentage of certainty they're at? Like, what's the algorithm or whatever? Like,
so the behind the curtain is there isn't.
Okay, I was gonna say that sounds like some bullshit.
If they ask the examiner to provide a medical opinion as to whether or not he thinks it's connected to your service or not, he has one of two boxes he can check.
Okay, yes or no? Yeah,
50% or more, or less than 50%. That's it.
Why don't we just say yes or no? Like, yes, I think it's service connected. Like,
well, they're supposed to give a reason and a rationale and use medical studies and whatever.
I mean, that's fine.
But realistically, the VA is looking for which box is checked.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough. All right.
The other thing is your ability to claim a condition does not end until you are no longer living.
For everybody, or just are we still talking about reservists?
Everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And everybody.
But it becomes increasingly difficult.
It becomes increasingly difficult. Yes.
Yeah.
But
okay.
For example, whether it's active duty or a reservist, you go to what we call a mobilization, or like a 1-year activation to active duty, which plenty of National Guard and Navy reservists did when we kicked off Afghanistan.
We had a ton of people just doing active duty orders at the Flagstaff I was at. I had like a aviation senior chief, and like our IS chief was Lindsay. She was there 2-3 years. Like, I thought she was on active duty forever, and then I heard something about her being a reservist. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, she was there every day, like a normal. She was on active duty orders. So
let's say you get deployed to a combat zone.
Yeah,
and you come out with a mental health, right? And you come out with a mental health condition.
She spent, where was she at? She was somewhere in the Middle East for like a year. I did a podcast with her while she was overseas. Like, she was out there forever doing some kind of security stuff.
Let's say you come back with a mental health condition, but you don't claim it for 35 years.
Yeah.
It still doesn't mean that it can't get service connected. You just missed out on all the pay for the last 35 years.
That's some bullshit. Because if they service connect it, and I've had it this whole time, because let's say I got out, and the day after I got out, I got diagnosed with a major depressive disorder, but I didn't claim it for like 20 years.
Yep.
If I got diagnosed 20 years ago and you agree it's service connected, I should be getting a giant back pay check. That's some bullshit.
So written into the law. We
need to do some lobbying.
Right? Written into the law, the VA is not required to pay for any disability claim that they were not made aware of.
That's fair, I guess. Fuckers.
Right? If you weren't made aware of it, how can I pay you?
Yeah, if you didn't claim it, it's on you. It's your fault you didn't claim it, I guess. Yeah.
So,
and they do, like, if you went to TAPS, you're aware of the claim process, at least superficially. And I mean,
very superficially.
Well, it depends on your TAPS experience. Like, me and Dan talked about this, and my TAPS experience was actually pretty fucking great. Like, shout out to the Pacific Northwest Fleet and Family Support Center. Like, they do a fucking fantastic job of, like, not only like the 5-day course, like the tracks I wasn't as impressed with, but the 5-day course that they like own, because you get like the normal 5-day TAPS is basically Fleet and Family employees doing it, and then they bring in some speakers here and there. But then the tracks are you like Department of Labor or fucking some other person that they bring in somehow that's a contractor. But like the 5-day course that they did, man, was fucking outstanding. And I mean, we were eating lunch in the room, and during lunch they would bring in speakers, and one of them was the so there's a community college here that the shipyard uses for like their apprenticeship program. It's Olympic Community College. They brought in a bunch of people to talk about Olympic, but then there was a guy who was a retired Master at Arms senior chief, I think, and he went down the rabbit hole on some of the VA stuff, and that's how I found out about VRE. Is like he went and explained all that. He explained some VA claim stuff. Like he gave us a bunch of really good information, and so like it depends on your experience, but I would say generally that's probably an accurate statement that like you're going to get a very superficial overview. But they do provide you with a lot of resources too. Like they handed me all those guides, and there was a lot of there was an electronic folder that we had access to that you could download all the shit. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like it's on you to then explore all that. But they provide you with a ton of material, and depending on where you're at. I mean, the experience I had, which granted was a few years ago, I'm assuming the same people are there doing the same thing, but fucking incredible experience. Like I was really surprised at how good it was for that 5-day general TGPS now, or whatever the fuck they call it. But yeah, I learned a lot.
The exact opposite experience.
Yeah, which seems to be more typical. Like I think I just got lucky.
Yeah,
but
hey, we'll give you 3 days off of work to go do the online.
Well, you had
courses.
The COVID fucking click through a slideshow or whatever the fuck. I've heard those
the only thing outside of the standard courses that I looked into was the VA claim stuff, and then the reservist double pay catch-all.
What's that?
Oh, I can't get paid to be a reservist and get VA disability pay on the same day. It's niche.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. You can't get 2 federal paychecks for the same day of work.
But it's not for the same. I'm not getting paid to work when I get a VA check. I'm getting paid to breathe. I'm getting paid for my disabilities. I'm not getting paid for fucking. Oh, that's so stupid. The fucking government rationale is so
I owe the
stupid,
VA I owe the VA 2 months of disability pay back this year because of
that bullshit.
Because of the time that I did for the Navy as a reservist.
Oh, that's so dumb.
It's every reservist with a disability rating.
That's so dumb.
Yep.
Because whatever. I'm not even.
That's a total sidebar, though. Total sidebar.
All right. Any other reservist stuff that's unique, or do you think would be
a lot about what you can prove? Right.
Okay. So is it similar in that, like, for active duty people going to military medical? So let's say Christina injured herself at work. If she goes to a military medical facility to get it treated or diagnosed or whatever, is that better or worse or irrelevant?
It doesn't make a difference where you get the treatment.
The only thing that matters is you're in a duty status.
You're in a duty status. You have to prove the duty status and the injury happened at the same time.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
But a line of duty statement's the gold standard.
Okay. So make friends with your corpsman, get a line of duty statement. All right. And it's probably more about in the moment being persistent, go get it treated and then be very persistent about getting that line of duty statement while everything's fresh, because if you wait the longer you wait, the more convoluted and difficult it's going to become. Right. Does that sound accurate?
Well, not only that, but reservists other than the training, the reserves folks that are there all day, every day.
Yeah.
Reservists are only there 2 days a month.
Right. So get that line of duty statement.
We don't work just 2 days a month, but we're only there.
Right, but you're only at the NOSC or whatever, the drill, wherever you're drilling and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So if it doesn't get done,
here's another one. Can they get a line? We would have reservists come drill at Group 9 when I was there, right, at the submarine group building on the weekend. But if they're there, could they go to medical and get a line of duty statement? So they could just use active duty resources wherever they're drilling to get a line of duty statement during that weekend.
Now, how familiar is medical with a line of duty statement is a different story.
If I walk in there with a template, hey, you guys go get a fucking template from somebody. But okay. So just, really you just explain all it is a statement saying it. Well, I guess I should ask this question. Is it like a form or is it just a letter from a medical provider?
No, it's a process.
So can you go into it? What does it involve or what you know about it?
From my limited understanding, because I've never had to do one.
Okay.
Is that, say you get injured and you go to medical and they say, hey, you're actually injured. You need to go to the emergency room and have like you broke your arm or whatever it is. You got to go to an actual medical facility, get your arm set, get put in a cast, and all this other stuff. The resulting line of duty statement says, yes, this happened while in a duty status. The military will pay for all of the medical costs because you were on duty, right?
Okay.
Because all of that, if you go to a private facility, you may have your own health insurance depending on your job, but you're still covered by TRICARE when you're on duty.
Right.
So TRICARE is going to pick up all the bills. At that point, if there is still a chronic disability, chronic being the key word, after the recovery, that line of duty statement substantiates the fact that it started while you were in a duty status and it's still a disability.
But couldn't you? I mean,
because
it probably just
the line of duty statement could lead to any number of medical statuses, whether it be a readiness, like are you able to deploy?
Okay.
Or are you even able to stay in the Naval Reserve?
Right. Okay. Because I was going to say, couldn't you just prove the disability with the fact that TRICARE paid for it and that you were in a drilling status and all that other shit? But
well, is TRICARE going to give you the billing statements in the mail?
I don't fucking know. Like
TRICARE just eats the money, right?
That's true. Yeah.
It's not like they send you an explanation of your benefits.
So reservist homies, do some research on line of duty statements and come prepared with like a fillable PDF on your drill weekends or something. Because otherwise it's going to be a fucking nightmare, I would imagine.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. So like it, and this, so like, I guess that we should talk about like, so if I'm let's go like rewind. So reservist or active duty, we're going to go in and do our BDD claim, presumably, but I guess it could apply to a regular claim too. Like what is step one for like detaching Seaman Timmy for showing up to see you to do a BDD claim? Cause like, I think we kind of glossed over like you have to show up with your medical records. How do you get your medical records? Like, how do you,
if you're doing a BDD claim, I do not need your entire medical record.
Really?
What I need is for you to go to your PCM and ask them for what they call a problem list.
So my problem list was bullshit. And like, cause I had somebody tell me that and it was super outdated and missing shit and
that's fine, but I need somewhere to start.
Okay.
Right. I'm not saying that's the end all be all.
Yeah.
But I need somewhere to start. Because if you have major things that happened, or even minor things that were documented 4 years ago,
right,
you're not going to remember them.
Right.
But they can still be claimed.
Yeah, well, and that was kind of my point, I guess, in my head was I had a bunch of shit that I knew was in there that I wanted to claim that was not on my problems list.
Yeah.
And some of that I went about like going to see the doctor again to make sure it was more relevant and to see if it had gotten worse and blah, blah, blah. But then like, I also was like, hey, my problems list is fucking bullshit. Like, you guys should probably update this, because that's what I had somebody tell me that like your problems list is going to be super relevant. But I was like, yeah, but it's not accurate at all. Like, it had shit from like my first boat still on it. I used to get like constant ingrown toenails, like would get infected and shit. And it had like that on there. I'm like, I haven't had that happen in like 18 years. Like, why is this still on my problems list?
But it's a starting place, and the rest of it we can fill in with what's currently going on. So it's a conversation on top of it. The problems list gives me a starting point that you're not still 100% able-bodied and rip-roaring ready to go.
Yeah.
But that there's something actually wrong.
I guess I'm more sensitive to it because my VSO wasn't you, like where you're asking questions and having a conversation. He didn't fucking ask me. Like, he said, come with a list of shit that you want to claim. And I'm like, okay, but like, I don't even know the right words for a lot of it. So I just copied it right out of my medical record. And then he ended up changing some shit too. And I'm like, I don't know enough to tell him one way or the other. So it was weird. But like, I didn't get to have the conversation where he's like advocating for me and shit. The guy didn't fucking advocate for me. He just filled out a form, clicked send, and then went back to Seattle. So like, it was, I think I'm more sensitive to it because I had a shitty VSO. So I'm like,
well, and not everybody operates the same way. Not everybody operates the way I do. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, my desk is literally covered in sticky notes of things that I'm researching right now for other people.
Yeah. Is there, do you have advice on how to seek out a good VSO? Like, cause you mentioned that earlier, like not just find a VSO, find a good one. Like, is there a trick to that, or is it just
so the
try until you
VA,
find one? Or
so the VA has a Office of General Counsel.
Mhm.
If you go on that website, you can search for VSO representatives within a certain zip code.
Okay.
If you just type in VAOGC.
Of General Counsel.
Yep.
Okay.
It is a list of, well, it's a searchable list of every accredited attorney, which you don't necessarily need unless things are extremely complicated.
Right.
And VSOs, like myself. I'm in there, right?
Okay.
All my coworkers that are accredited, we're all in there. Everyone who's an accredited VSO in the state of California or any other state is in.
Okay.
We all have a specific number.
Mhm.
That specific number is what gives me access into the VA system and it allows me to represent veterans to the VA.
Okay.
I'm a legal advocate. I'm not a lawyer.
Is there any kind of like rating system or anything? Like, is it like,
I
they're like
wish.
Yelp for VSOs?
If there was, I wouldn't want to read mine because I'm sure that there's
Yeah.
there's going to be some nasty comments in there, right? Because not
All right,
everybody walks out.
it's all graded on a curve, man. As long
Right.
as you're the least shitty VSO, everybody's gonna come to you.
Well, that's the problem, right? No, is when you get a reputation, right?
Mhm.
You can run towards you or run away from.
Right.
But if you don't like your VSO, find a different one in your area.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough. All right.
Go with
go back
a
to
different organization.
I didn't mean to
Right.
sidetrack you. I just like that popped into my head. So like we
Yeah.
could go back to, I was just wondering if there was like a way to do it. But
Not
right.
that I'm aware of.
All right. Add that to my list of shit.
Yep. So,
because I might make a web page to try to like aggregate resources and shit, and then maybe we just make like a VSO ranking system. I don't know how I would do it, but
don't put me at the top. That ain't happening.
ChatGPT, help me out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
So the three parts of the disability claim. I can't claim something if you're not diagnosed with it or it doesn't pop up in the conversation that we're talking about.
Right.
I'm not going to claim you got diabetes when you can drink 6 Mountain Dews and 4 Monsters and eat a king-size Snickers bar and be fine.
Yeah.
But if your knees are busted because you've been on a submarine and you're 6'3" and you don't fit at all, well, that kind of makes sense in my head.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, number one thing is I gotta have a current diagnosis. I'll use another one of my taglines that if any of my veterans know, I say this all the time. I don't care who it is, as long as it's somebody with letters after their last name that went to school longer than me.
Okay.
MD, PA, RN, LCSW, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a medical professional with letters after their last name.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be me in a few years. It'll be what is it? It's like fuck, I forget. It's like a mental health counselor.
Yeah.
But that's not the acronym. I don't fucking remember.
Licensed clinical social worker or something like that.
No, it's like licensed mental health counselor. I think it's LMHC.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's LMHC. I'm almost
letters after your last
went to school longer than you.
Went to school longer than me, right? So
yeah,
that's what I need. I need somebody to say that you got it.
Yeah.
Right. Because the VA is never going to rate something that is acute. Right. They're not going to rate, the flu. Right.
Yeah.
They're not going to rate, but they're going to rate arthritis. They're going to rate cancer. They're going to rate hearing loss. They're going to rate all that stuff that is going to persist for the rest of your life.
Okay. And then, so like if I showed up to you, and I kind of know the answer to this, I just want to hear you explain it. If I show up to you with my medical records and I thought I had thoroughly documented everything, and we're in the 11th hour now, and during our conversation something comes up, right? Like, so like for instance, during COVID I was getting treated for cancer, but also my right arm was going numb and I didn't know why, and I knew nobody was going to give a fuck because one, I was in the midst of cancer treatment, and two, it was COVID madness. So like no one's going to see me about this. So I brought it up to one of the nurses in the cancer, because I had to go see neurology because it was in my brain, and they took out some brain tissue and they removed the tumor. And then I was seeing ENT because the tumor was on my olfactory nerve, which is your smell nerve coming down from your brain, but it's in your sinuses. So I had an
Right.
ENT guy. And then I have the oncology, like the cancer treatment guys. Yep. And so like I had a licensed nurse practitioner lady that was like she was like the right hand of the surgeons and the neuro guy and whatever. And so I asked them and they're like, it sounds like a nerve thing or carpal tunnel. And I was like, really? Because somebody had brought up carpal tunnel as like a cheese dick thing you could claim with the VA, like scars and stuff. And I was like it seemed cheesy to me. I'm like, I don't have carpal tunnel. Like, that's stupid. And I like, because to me, it was like some niche thing if you sit at a computer too long or something. I spent a lot of time sitting at a computer doing shit, but I was like, I don't have carpal tunnel. Like, because in my mind, it was like almost like a fake medical condition. And then sure as shit, I was talking to the contractor guy, the doctor that was evaluating me, and I mentioned it, and he goes, really? And he had me do some shit. He did an exam. He goes, that's carpal tunnel, bro. I was like, get the fuck out of here, really? And sure as shit, he diagnosed me with carpal tunnel. I don't know if it got rated at anything or not. I forget, but that's a thing that can happen. So like, if I come to you at the 11th hour and a thing comes up, it's not the ideal way of doing it, but I can just like, you could claim it even though it's not diagnosed, and then they can evaluate you for it. Or do you have to bring it up in that context where it's not on my form, but it got added to my form by that guy because he diagnosed me with it on the spot?
If it's a BDD claim and the CMP examiner diagnoses it, the contractor doctor that they send you to for the claim diagnoses it. It's now been diagnosed on active duty.
But do I have to, I guess what I'm asking is, do I have to populate it on the claim first so they know it's coming, or can I just bring it up in the context of that meeting?
You probably,
is there a better way?
Probably you should put it on the claim, but one of the other benefits of having a VSO is because I have access in the VA's computer system to anything and everything the VA's done for you benefits wise.
Okay.
I can go in and I can see those compensation and pension exams that they're never going to send you in the mail. They're not going to want you to know exactly why they rated you what percentage and this reason versus this reason. But if I can go in there and they do like a general physical where they say you have another condition, but it doesn't get rated because you didn't claim it. Yeah. Well, there's another claim.
Okay.
It's not a one and done process.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm about to ask you to audit my shit. Okay. So I feel like you left. I distracted you from something you were finishing up. Do you remember?
Oh gosh, squirrel brain.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious about like I think this is the last topic I think I'm going to be able to think of, but I think this is probably the most common like position veterans find themselves in, and also like the most excruciating part of this whole thing is I get out and 5 years later I have this issue and now I want to claim it and get a VA rating because I know it happened while I was in the military. Like, talk to me about that process and some of the like the pain and the pitfalls, and then like the advice that you would have for navigating that kind of a process.
So everyone is unique. Everyone has unique medical ailments, right?
Right.
A lot of it is going to be one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
We're going to have a conversation, or whoever your VSO is, right? It's not going to be me, but
right.
If you can justify it and your VSO has the ability to get into your service treatment records, right? Through the VA's computer system or through a FOIA request, or for those of you that are getting out, go to your medical department, fill out the form. They'll send them all to you in a PDF.
Yep, it's so easy, dude.
Easy. It took 30 days and I got them all.
Yeah, my archaic ass was like trying to figure out where I went and picked up my hard copy medical record, and they're like, that's not real anymore.
No, fill out a form. We'll send it to you in a PDF.
And it's not, dude, it's you say form, like I would go to the medical admin desk. It was like a little slip, and they're like, write your email address on this. You'll have it in 72 hours or less. And I'm like, really? And there was like this old retired chief there, so I'd walk up, what's up, brother? Like, and he would give me the, he was just happy to see chiefs, and so like he was super cool. And yeah, you would just fill out this thing, and I probably had more. I probably had to put like my fucking social on it or something. I don't remember, but it was real easy. I mean, it took me 20 seconds to fill it out, hand it to the guy, and walk away. And then I would get like a safe file exchange type email. You click a link, put a password in, download the PDFs.
Download the hundreds and hundreds of pages of medical documentation that you didn't know existed.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I mean,
there's so much shit.
At a minimum, you're generating 17 to 20 pages of medical records every year when you're on active duty. Because you're doing a PHA. 17 to 20 pages.
There's so much shit in there, dude. Like
you got problems that you haven't been able to get into medical for. Put it on your PHA. It's then documented in your medical record. Sure, it's self-reported.
Yep.
But it's still in your medical record. Right? It's an opportunity.
Yeah. It's not enough people do it, and I understand why, because I was that guy. I wouldn't go to medical.
I did the
unless
same
I was
thing.
Bleeding out my fucking eyeballs, but it, or I got sent there. Like there's this one time I was a galley watch captain. I don't know why I'm breaking down an empty tissue box, and the noise is getting picked up by the microphone. Like I'm not a pro. Idiot. I was galley watch captain as a second class, and so you'd show up early, and I mean, when you were in a watch section, and I'd be there for like 14 hours, and so like I showed up for like 4:30 in the morning for breakfast, and I'm sitting in a chair at the desk where the computer is. I was fucked up. I had like strep throat, and I felt horrible, but like I'm not going to work. Like I was just that guy. So I showed up, and I'm like, my throat was almost swollen shut when I went to medical. Like I was in a mess. And so I was sitting there, I had these like lozenges in, and I'd pump myself a little like fucking Dayquil and caffeine, and was just sitting there. And I came in, and my chief's like, what's up, man? And I was like, oh, what's up, chief? I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, oh, I'm sick, a little sick, but I'm fine. He goes, go to medical. And I was like, I'm good, I'm fine. He's like, did you hear me ask you a question? I was like, okay. Finally, I was like, all right, gotta. Like, he like had to snap at me to get me to go to medical because I'm an idiot. But I was just like that guy. I'm like, I'm not gonna be the guy that doesn't show up and then somebody has to do my job for me. And like, I feel like a lot of sailors do that kind of dumb shit. And I mean, I was like, my throat was almost swollen shut. They put me on like Percocet and fucking this other shit to like make the swelling. And they were like,
the good stuff.
Yeah, they were like, do you live with someone? I was like, nope, I live alone. They're like, do you have somebody that can come over and monitor you? Because otherwise they were going to admit me to the hospital because like, you could die. They're like, your throat could swell shut and you stop breathing and you're going to fucking die. So like somebody's got to come at least check on you, if not stay with you. Yeah. And so I ended up having to have somebody come over and like babysit me so that I didn't have to get admitted to the hospital. Right. It was such a shit show, but that's yeah.
So going back to it, right? If it's not documented, in your medical records anyway, it could, in theory, depending on what it is, be tied to what your job is, right?
Okay.
If you're an aviation person and you're having trouble getting the VA to recognize that you were probably exposed to some loud noise,
or like JP5 fumes, or is it JP5? Is that what it's called?
Jet exhaust,
jet fuel shit.
Jet fuel, right? If you were on a Navy ship that was built before 1980, you want to know how much asbestos is there? Probably more than should be allowed.
Every fucking door on a 688, this may contain asbestos.
Yep.
Like, don't fucking open this.
Don't open the door. Yep. 3/4 of the buildings on Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, same.
Right, same thing.
Dude, I was up at the sub pack building once, and they kicked a door frame, and sawdust and termites came out of it. I was like, "Oh my god, bro!"
Are you sure it was sawdust?
Well, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
But there's tons of ways, right? And sure, maybe it takes you reaching out to contacts you knew from when you were in that were there and witnessed the incident of what happened when you got hurt, right?
Okay.
Maybe that's what it takes. Or in the instance of like a motor vehicle accident, maybe you got to go contact the local sheriff's department that has the accident record.
Okay.
Right? Or the hospital that you got treated at.
What kind of like weight does, so like say I'm there when you got injured, and
Yeah.
I do a buddy statement, how much weight does that carry? Because like I could fucking make up a buddy statement. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
do
right.
they try to vet it at all, or do
the
they?
VA will try to vet it, right?
Okay.
They'll do their best. Let's say I was stationed with this guy on this boat and he got hurt, blah 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 blah.
Okay, so they go look
Cool.
to see if
they
that's
can
true.
They can go pull personnel records and see if you were ever, if that guy was even on that ship, right? I mean, they can look and see how much of a BS statement was given.
Okay.
But it's ultimately going to be up to a medical professional as to determine whether or not it was caused by the military or not.
Right. Okay.
But with that, the medical professional doesn't have to be the contractor that the VA sends you to.
Mm-hmm.
It could be your own. It can be your own personal doctor.
Yeah, and
your personal doctor, whoever it is, can write you a statement that says, "I've been treating him for the last 5 years for this knee injury that I believe started when he was on active duty."
Is that the Nexus letter thing? Is that what that's called?
That's the Nexus letter that everybody thinks you need. I mean,
I've heard the term, and I don't really know what it is, or if it's a specific thing, or if it's
not a specific thing. There's no form for it or anything like that. It's a doctor giving his opinion. It's a doctor giving an opinion. Do I think this happened because of active duty or not? Right?
Yeah. Okay.
If it's your private doctor, great. If it's the VA's contracted physician that's doing the exam, fantastic.
I'm about to create a cottage industry up in the Pacific Northwest, or like via telemedicine, where I'm the licensed mental health counselor that will tell everyone your shit is service connected.
A lot of the mental health claims, especially up by me.
I'm gonna edit that out so that nobody comes back at me legally.
I'm in a pretty rural part.
Yeah.
Most of our mental health exams are telehealth.
Yeah. No, and so I have this in the back of my mind, this grand plan of like starting a nonprofit of some form once I become a little experienced as a mental health counselor, doing like crisis counseling via telemedicine, where almost like I want to fill the gap between I'm in crisis and getting normal mental health care in the military. Like I want to try to fill the time and access gap that exists, where like if you're really in crisis, you can like hit a button and one of however many volunteer mental health counselors I can get involved will like pick up a fucking Zoom call or be available in this app or whatever.
Or the VA suicide crisis line, or the DOD's safe line, or whatever it is,
But I want to do it where it's
the
like
acute crisis.
Yeah, I want to do it where it's like, hopefully it's like a FaceTime type deal where you can at least see a person too, but where it's like, it's not like I'm trying to talk you down. It's like, no, like from now until you get access to military mental health care, we're going to talk 3 times a week, and you're going to have like sessions with me, and it's not going to cost you a fucking dime. And that's the idea. I don't know how I'm going to fucking make that happen yet, but hopefully AI can help me out.
Every good business starts with an idea.
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
so
yeah.
Maybe you should have done that entrepreneur track at TGUTS.
I tried. It was no, I did do it. I did every track except for the vocational one. And the labor one was horrific. Like I went for a day and then I just didn't go back because the lady was fucking condescending and just rude, and I just like not giving any information I couldn't find in 5 seconds on Google. And I was like, man, fuck this.
Well, and that's part of the problem with the VA is you could Google all this information.
Yeah.
But how many lawyers' websites are going to pop up first?
True. Fair enough.
Or how many Reddit comments or YouTube videos that are going to tell you, right?
Some bullshit, some tribal knowledge bullshit.
Right.
Like,
and I'll never say that everything that they say is wrong. But what I will say is some videos or some articles have some good information. Can you figure out which is good,
which is which. Yeah.
Right. Whereas I've only been doing this a couple years. I'm not going to say I'm even close to being an expert. I'm not.
You've already dispensed some of the bullshit tribal wisdom that I've picked up over like conversations and videos and Reddit threads and Facebook groups. Yeah. So like, I mean, you've already debunked some of it for sure.
And I'm sure I'm going to get called out in the comments for something that I said that wasn't what happened to that specific person.
Which, okay, like
that's
thanks.
Fine. That's your specific story.
Yeah,
I'm speaking in
with
a lot of generalities
VSO too. Right. Yeah.
And it's a lot of generalities because nobody is the same as the next guy.
Right.
Talk to any 3 Vietnam vets and see if they have the exact same issues.
Yeah. Right. Exact same situation.
They could have been. So a lot of it is what we do is highly specialized.
Mhm.
And by specialized, I mean specialized to you, not specialized.
Yeah, like case by case. Yeah,
Case by case basis. Everybody is different medically. Everybody has different risk factors. Everybody has
right.
different
Well,
ailments.
and even like if you and I had the same version of my cancer, which was extremely rare, it's like your experience with it and my experience with it are going to be very different. Like even though there's going to be a lot of parallels, you know what I mean?
Right. We could have the exact same cancer and I could die from it. And you could
yeah,
be fine.
or like come out the other end like with different tertiary symptom or like issues or whatever and all that shit. So like, yeah, I mean, they could treat you differently, which leads to different side effects and all the shit. Like I didn't get chemo, maybe you get chemo. I got a bunch of fucking proton radiation. Maybe you get regular radiation. I don't fucking know. Like it's so different.
Yeah. It's why they call it practicing medicine.
Yeah.
They ain't good at it. They're practicing.
Still figuring it out. That's funny.
But yeah. So having the process, I mean, you can get through most of it by yourself. Yeah. Is it going to be perfect? Nope. Mine wasn't.
Yeah.
Yours wasn't.
Yeah.
Because the process is individualized. It's not.
I did it with a VSO and it wasn't perfect. Yeah. It's like, it's gonna. But like, I had a shitty VSO, and like somebody that gets a guy like you that's not only a veteran, but it's gonna advocate for them as well. It's like that's gonna be a different experience, and you're gonna have a much more pleasant experience where shit goes a lot more right. I would think than like with mine. I had such a thick medical record that like it was kind of like he could fuck it up and I was still going to be 100%. You know what I mean? Like I already knew, but it was like,
you knew, but for how long?
Right. Exactly. And that's why I'm like a little concerned now about like, I need to revisit some stuff because eventually cancer will fall off. And then, I'm like, I don't want it to drop, but if it does, it does. It's like, it is what it is. I'm not going to like, I'm not one of those, like, I have to be 100% no matter what. Like it's nice, but like, I don't know. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm going to get a job eventually. Like, I'm not going to college for funsies. So it's like,
but yeah. And like, just because, and here's the other thing that the VA changed a couple of years ago is every time they give you a decision, if they deny a condition buried in the giant half a tree that they send you in a paper envelope, there's a reason why they denied it. And a reason why they could have granted it.
Okay.
Buried towards the end, there's for each condition, it's listed why they denied it, and then it says favorable findings. Those favorable findings are things that could have proven your case had it not been for the reason they did.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
So they deny something because they said you didn't have a diagnosis, but they found it in your service treatment records.
When you say deny, you just mean, hey, this isn't service connected? Or denied, like we're not rating it at anything except 0?
Denied as in it is not a service connected disability, whether it's at 0% or not, because there's two parts to every disability.
Right.
Service connection and then the number, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Whether it's service connected or not, and the number. You can have 1,000 things service connected at 0%.
Yeah. I have a few.
You're still not getting paid.
But I'm like,
you're still not getting paid because they're all at 0%. But,
so do they provide the same favorable findings feedback for 0% service connected or no? So I'm curious about those ones because I'm
for 0% service connected. Typically, what they'll do is they'll say we rated you at 0% based on non-compensable symptoms, which means your symptoms didn't warrant money.
Okay.
Immediately below that, they'll say in order to warrant a 10, 20, whatever the next percentage is. These are the symptoms you should have.
Where does it say that? Is it the letter?
We call it the narrative letter. It's the paragraph format. It's not the top page where they just say connected at 0% or whatever. Yeah. It's way at the back of the letter.
Okay.
They hide the good information at the end.
Of course.
Right? It's the same thing with every VA program. You don't see commercials on TV for VR&E.
Right, exactly.
You don't, right? Because if
I've never even heard of it.
Personal anecdotal conspiratorial mindset, right? If they don't tell you about it, nobody's going to apply, which means it doesn't cost them money.
It doesn't cost more. It doesn't cost as much as it would if we did commercials for it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's true though.
No, I mean, makes sense. Like, why else would they do that? But
yeah.
What like what I guess like what are some of the other, because we focused very narrowly on VA claims, I feel like. What are some of
Mhm.
the other programs, benefits, and stuff that you wish veterans knew about?
Recent changes. VA healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
If you were exposed to a toxic substance and you can
Mm-hmm.
prove it, like for example, you were on an aircraft carrier launching planes in the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
and you're exposed to the toxic burn pits, or you are boots on the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get VA healthcare without a service connected rate because of your exposure to toxic substances.
I
That
thought that was
happened
already real.
last month. Last
Really?
month. Last month.
Huh. I didn't realize you
Before,
had to have a disability rating generally just to get VA healthcare. I thought all
well,
veterans got VA healthcare, but there was like varying like
there's
levels or access or
there's
whatever.
priority groups to VA healthcare. It's 1 through 8. You can go into
Okay.
it if you want to, but in
How do
order
you
to
know
be
what priority you are? Is it
if
on
you're
your
over
ID
50,
card?
if you're over 50%, you're in priority group 1. If you're between
Okay.
10 and 40, you're in priority group 2, and then it just whittles down. There's like some
Okay.
there's special priority groups for Purple Hearts and Medal of Honors and
Yeah.
things like that, right?
All right. Fair enough.
But there's now 3 main ways to get VA healthcare. Have a disability percentage at 10% or more,
Mhm.
right? So not just all zeros, but 10% or more. That guarantees you VA healthcare for, at a minimum, your service-connected disabilities. They can see
Okay.
you for other things, depending on your percentage. They may charge you a copay.
Okay.
If you have a 0% service-connected rating or no service-connected disability rating at all, you can get VA healthcare, but it is income means-based.
Okay.
How many people in your household, how much income
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
get, and you have to provide all that information. It takes a lot longer.
Okay.
I joke that I can probably get you service-connected disability rating at 10% or more faster than I can get you VA healthcare through your rating. And I'm not joking.
I mean, that
Right.
doesn't surprise me.
But if it takes 6 months for me to get you to put in the application to send to the specific office that's, I think, in Georgia somewhere that does
Mhm.
the income-based VA healthcare adjudications,
Mhm.
and it only takes me 4 months to get you 10% for your blown out knee from 15 years ago,
Right.
I can get you into the VA in 4
Faster,
months
yeah.
versus the 6 months it's going to take them to do that.
Right.
So there's a chain of benefits when it comes to the VA. If you have a service-connected disability rating, it's like the cheater way into the system to get access to all the benefits.
Okay.
If you don't have a service-connected disability rating, you can still get a lot of benefits. GI Bill
Yeah.
is still available to you as long as you had an honorable discharge,
Mhm.
right? Because if you don't have an honorable discharge, they yoink that, you're never getting it. Even if you
Yeah.
do a discharge upgrade and get all the stuff taken care of, which you can do, you're not going to get
Yeah.
your GI Bill back. Any disability rating at 20% gets you Veterans Readiness and Employment, your second GI Bill if you want,
God,
right? Or whatever else you need.
It's so dope, dude.
If you're at a certain percentage, you can get paid at the 100% without being 100%. Call it individual unemployability. It means because of your disabilities, you're unable to work, maintain meaningful employment. They'll pay you at 100%, even though you're like at somewhere between 60 and 90. It's a possibility.
Why don't they just rate you at 100% in that case? Like, if I'm
so like for me, for example,
unemployable,
right? I'll use myself as an example.
Okay.
I'm rated for both my ankles, both my knees, and my low back. Doesn't mean I can't sit and do a job now.
Mhm.
But I'm not probably when I'm 75, I'm not going to be able to sit in a chair for very long.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to get around as much as I do now because A, I'm 75, and B, my entire lower body.
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So, sure, none of those disability ratings make me unable to work now, but they also don't. They're never going to put me at 100%.
Yeah.
Even if they get worse, it would take a miracle for me to get.
Right. Okay.
Because of where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
It's a way for somebody to prove to the VA that their disabilities make them unable to work, even though they don't meet the VA math for 100%.
What's the process for that making them make that decision? Like making them determine if or do they just do that as a normal part of your claim?
No, it's actually an entirely separate form because it's the federal government and they don't do anything like half a tree.
They don't, efficiency. Fuck that.
Yeah. I need a piece of paper that says that this is what you want to do.
Gotcha.
Right? So.
Okay. What else?
Oh, gosh. Every state has different veteran benefits.
Okay.
I don't know what Washington does, but I know
Mhm.
there are a lot in California, maybe because
They're a very veteran-friendly state.
well, California's got, I don't know, like 35% of all the country's veterans in it or something crazy
Texas
like that.
Probably has the other fucking
right?
60, and then the rest are just scattered everywhere.
For example, we have a special form that can put the word veteran on your driver's license, which means you don't have to prove with a DD-214 at Lowe's to get your 10% discount. You just show them your driver's license.
Okay.
We have a state parks pass that's basically free if you have a 50% disability rate.
I think one of them in this state that I really need to explore, because I drive a plug-in hybrid, and they fucking registration is like $300 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I can get disabled veteran plates, and it just waives the registration fee.
It does the same thing in California too.
I really should have done that like a million years ago.
If you have disabled veteran plates in the state of California, you no longer have an annual registration.
Right.
Federal Parks Pass, National Parks Pass, it's free to every veteran, whether you have a disability rating or not.
Yep.
I'm just gonna pull up my list.
Okay.
I have a giant list of all this
sick.
stuff.
Perfect. Can you send me that? Because I was gonna ask at the end, like, any resources, links, anything that you think is important, relevant, whatever. I'll put it in the show notes, but then eventually I'm gonna add a webpage, like a link on the webpage with just resources and
big one in California. If the veteran has any disability rating, 0% to whatever, their kids can get in-state tuition paid for.
So free college, essentially.
Just the tuition. Still got to do room and board and books and meal pass and all that other stuff. But the tuition. Okay. We have a tuition fee waiver.
Damn.
For kids of a disabled veteran.
I know there's some act in I forget what it's called in Texas it's similar. It's like if you're just a veteran that enlisted out of the state of Texas, you get free state college tuition, and then I want to say, I don't know if it's any disabled veteran or if it's there's some link to Texas or something, or you're maybe a disabled veteran that's a Texas resident or something like that. But I forget the name of the act, but they have like a state law. It's pretty sick.
Let's see. Let's just roll through it. If your rating is
because I was planning on moving to Texas.
If your disability rating's 30% or more, add all your dependents to the claim. It's more money, right? Spouse, kids, whoever it is.
Okay. Yeah, I have like my wife, but that's it.
Yeah. Oregon has a state parks pass that's free if you have a 50% disability as well. At 50%, you can get reimbursed for your mileage for any out-of-pocket costs for VA healthcare appointments. So, like, there's just a ton of stuff out there. Okay. 100%, if you're permanent in total, 100%. Dependents can get what they call CHAMP VA. It's healthcare through the VA.
Okay. I know isn't there a spouse education benefit too if you're PNT?
If you're 100%, it's called Chapter 35.
Yeah, I was looking into that for my wife because she was considering going to school, but I'm not PNT, so I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "Sorry, I'm not broken enough."
Not 100% PNT yet.
Yeah, that's one of the only reasons that I'm like concerned about PNT. Besides, it's just nice having the check every month. Is like I was trying to get the spouse, fucking whatever education benefits. But.
Not that we need to go into it now, but there's benefits even after you pass. It's a whole different story.
Yeah. I looked into that too because we went down a rabbit hole of like I ended up doing the VGLI because with my medical history, because everyone's like, "Oh, don't do it, it's too expensive." I'm like, with my fucking medical history, do you know how much civilian insurance would cost for me? I'm like, I'm not fucking everybody wanted to do a medical exam with my medical. I'm like, fuck off. I'll pay VGLI. Yeah. But same thing with like I did the survival benefits plan with my pension, so like, and you got to pay into it, and it sucks. But it's like I'm 10 years older than my wife, and I have a complicated medical history that includes like rare cancer. So I'm just like, bro, like I'm not outliving my wife, so I'm just like I want her to have all the things when I die. So yeah, that's another one where it's like I want to be PNT for that reason too, because then she'll get a check every month from the VA, and I'm like, I need to. Yeah,
there's tons of stuff. The disability claims, the start of the process.
Yeah,
and even then, like, there's the bounds of the law, and then there's what I can prove.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's gonna be the episode title, I think. What I can prove. Or the book bends, one of the two.
The book does bend as long as I can prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good shit, man. Any save rounds or alibis? Anything we haven't talked about that you want to get into? I feel like we've tackled everything, but you're the
find
expert.
a reputable VSO near you.
100%.
I don't care who it's with. It could be the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Vets of Foreign Wars, your state veteran agency, any other thing you can think of. There's Blind Veterans of America, Paralyzed Veterans of I can't name them all. There's hundreds.
Right.
Every state has a veterans organization. Every state has a Department of Veteran Affairs. Find somebody, work with them, get your stuff into your medical record. Don't leave benefits sitting on the table because you don't think that you're entitled to them.
Right. And that's I feel like that's a big, huge obstacle for a lot of veterans, especially the young kids that are getting out after like one hitch. It's like they feel fine. Like they're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken. I didn't get blown up or shot at, so I'm not going to do a VA claim. And it's like, yeah, but, and it's like, it's not, you got to like reframe it because it's not what you think it is. It's very much like I entered the military at 100%. What percent am I at now? And that's kind of like, if you reverse code your VA rating, that's kind of what you're looking at is like, if you got 80%, then they took from you, 80%. And so there's 20% left. Or if you get 20%, then they took that from you and you're at 80%. Leaving the military.
If you run your engine at full throttle for 4 years versus 24 years, whatever it is, something gonna break.
If you're redlining for 21 years like I was, let me tell you, the wheels fall off the fucking wagon. I thought I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof until I got my cancer diagnosis. Like I was that guy. I was redlining and I planned to keep doing it. I was going to go be a cobb and a command master chief and all that shit. And then, like I got cancer and then the mental health shit happened and I just fell apart like all at once. It was just like everything just fucking exploded. And then that's why I ended up retiring primarily is my physical and mental health. Like I couldn't deal with the stress of going back to another submarine, period, let alone being a cobb. Like, get the fuck out of here. I would have lasted like 3 months.
Everybody walks in the front doors of boot camp between 18 and 20 years old. Yeah. Young, dumb, and invincible.
Yep.
Young, dumb, and invincible. You ain't that
Maybe
way when you walk out.
Title, Young, Dumb, and Invincible. I like that one too. There's too many good one-liners in this podcast, dude.
Oh man.
Awesome.
So,
well, dude, fucking thank you. This was sick. I wasn't even as prepared as I wanted to be, and I feel like we did a real good job, primarily because you were the content provider and I had no idea what I was talking about anyway, but yeah, man, I think this is going to be super beneficial for a lot of fucking people, and I can't wait to get it. I might edit and release this today just because I'm excited about it now.
The VA process, you're only ever going to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you do what I do.
You're you. Yeah. Yeah. And I considered it, man. I am going to poke around a little bit because I wouldn't mind being a VSO in the interim. And just because I want to help veterans. That's kind of my primary focus, like even with the mental health stuff. Whether or not I end up working at the VA for a while and then doing the nonprofit thing or hanging my own shingle and primarily working with military or whatever, like I'm going to find a way to do that, but that's my focus. And so like, if I can do that while I'm finishing my master's degree, it would be fucking cool. Like it'd be fun and it'd be fun to learn all this shit too. Like in the manner in which you have, because then I can help. Even if I'm not a VSO, having the knowledge and experience, I could still help a lot of veterans with that stuff too.
Well, and the last thing that I guess I'll say is that you'll get a lot of people that come into my office. They find out that I'm still doing the weekend stuff, and they say they thank me for my service. Right? Yeah, couldn't have done it if you hadn't done it first.
Yeah, 100%, man.
That's it, right?
100%.
I couldn't do this job if you weren't a veteran. This job wouldn't exist.
Yep. You're not wrong. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah.
This very enlightening. All right. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I had a good time. It was a little bit slow start for me this morning. I was pretty tired. I've had some issues sleeping the last few days, so I was kind of a dumpster fire, but I'm really glad I didn't reschedule because this was I woke up as we went and got into it, but also it's such valuable information. It's probably not the most entertaining stuff, but if you're separating this is the podcast for you, man. Like, and I encourage you to share it with all your friends that are even considering separating, specifically because if you're nearing retirement or you're nearing separation, you need to be working on all this stuff ahead of time. You need to be, I mean, the BDD claim 180 days out, sure, but even just documenting all your medical conditions. I had to get surgeries on my way out. Like I post cancer treatment, but I did a surgery. I had all this scar tissue that was obstructing my airways again. And the military paid for everything. I didn't pay a dime for anything because I did it while I was on active duty. So they cleaned up all the scar tissue in my nose. I can breathe freely now. It's incredible. And I never have to do anything again. It's just, it was part of the healing process from radiation and the surgery for my cancer. It's like, I got that all paid for by the military. It's not even VA claim related. I mean, my cancer's on there and a bunch of tertiary symptoms and all the other shit that I have going on is all on my VA claim. But that wasn't VA claim related. That was just a thing I wanted to do. And I would have had to come out of pocket, you know, like insurance would have paid for a bunch, but there's copays and there's shit they don't cover and whatever. And I would have had to pay all that as a civilian and a retiree. I didn't have to pay a dime to get that surgery done. So there's all those types of things you want to think about. It's like, get it all. You need to be going to medical. You need to be documenting all your things. But also like if there's just things you need done, like I found out I had cancer because I went in to get a deviated septum fixed so I could breathe and sleep better. I was just trying to improve my quality of life. And that's how they found the cancer. Thank God. Because I could have like lost an eye and all kinds of other crazy stuff. But if it had just been a deviated septum, like it's the time to do it is while you're still on active duty. So if you've been blowing something off because you were deploying or you just, you know, you didn't want it to affect your promotions or whatever, but now you're nearing the end of your career and you're pretty sure of that, now's the time. Start prioritizing your physical and mental health. Something we didn't spend much time on the podcast is, again, if you've done one entire enlistment that involved like high stress environments, deployments, etc. I don't care what you were doing. Like if you were deploying or like on a warship or you just doing something that was extremely stressful, go to mental health and get evaluated. Like you hear people talk about sleep studies, and by all means, go get a sleep study. But also, like especially if you're on a ship and you had a really dysfunctional sleep schedule like most people do, definitely get a sleep study. But also go talk to a mental health professional and get evaluated for anxiety. Get evaluated for insomnia. That's a thing. Like I'm diagnosed with insomnia, and part of it is all my sleep disorder stuff, but part of it is just the anxiety. Like I'm also diagnosed with a general anxiety disorder, and I definitely was disordered with anxiety, but like you can get a non-specific diagnosis. There's all kinds of options where you're in a state that you weren't in before and would not likely have been had you not gone through some traumatic experience outside of the military. So the military's on the hook for that shit. And it's part of your VA claim, but also the treatment, the therapy, the medication if required. I'm on Zoloft. Take it every day. And it helps a lot with my anxiety. I was in therapy for 1.5 years. It helped a lot with just equipping me with recognizing triggers and doing things to mitigate, like being in contact with those triggers, reframing my thought process. Like I'm a big fan of cognitive behavioral therapy, even though a lot of people don't like it because there's like homework involved and shit, which was a little annoying, but it helped. I had an incredible therapist and it helped a lot. So go make them tell you you're fine, right? Don't assume you are, because you're probably fucking wrong. Right. And I'm like speaking from my own experience, but also just the experience of my friends, peers, people that worked for me, all that shit. Go get evaluated by medical. And that includes mental health. And make them tell you you're fine. And if they do, they do. And that's cool. Like if you leave mental health and you don't get a diagnosis, okay. Like it's not, you're not a lot. I feel like a lot of people shy away from this kind of stuff because they feel like they're being like shady and grifty and they're trying to get money that they aren't entitled to or don't deserve. And it's like, that's not what it's about at all. Like I can tell you, I felt the same way up until the last few years I was in service when all this shit, because I was generally fine, even though I wasn't, like I had a disordered sleep, I had anxiety, I had all this shit. It was just undiagnosed. And then when I finally started going to medical for it, and there's a lot of stuff that they did that drastically improved my quality of life. I still sleep poorly compared to normal people, but I sleep a lot fucking better than I did when I had a giant cancerous tumor in my face. I sleep a lot better than I did before I knew I had insomnia, anxiety, and all the sleep apnea, right? So it's like I'm doing things now to address those problems that I wasn't before, and it's drastically improved my quality of life. But I'm still not like in the same place as a normal 41-year-old would be, right? Like that hadn't done all the shit and experienced all the things that I did in the military. So like that, all that is to say, go to medical, make them tell you you're fine and validate those feelings if they're valid. They're probably fucking not. And that's also why I want you to go, because I want you to get all those diagnoses. And worst case scenario, this is kind of like my biggest pitch point, like my biggest piece of like supporting evidence is like, even if they tell you you're fine, like if your knees hurt, right? Like I went to Navy medical because my knees hurt all the time. Like if I stand for more than like 5 or 10 minutes, my knees hurt. If I sit with my knees bent for longer than like 5 or 10 minutes, my knees hurt. So I went to medical and they did x-rays and they did exams and they basically said I was fine. I'm like, well, my fucking knees hurt. So why do my knees hurt? Like there shouldn't hurt. The normal amount of pain is 0. So like, what the fuck? And eventually the VA contractor guy diagnosed me with something, however valid that may be, I don't know. But it's in my military medical record, so by default, it's service connected. If my knees turn to fucking dust tomorrow, the VA has to fix it, right? So I don't have a disability rating for my knees. I don't think. I'd have to look. I'm pretty sure. It's either low or non-existent. But if something goes horribly wrong and my knees are fucked, it's the military's fault and they're on the hook for fixing it later, right? And it could turn into a disability rating that turns into money every month and blah, blah, blah. But it's like if you go and you complain about it and it's in your military medical record and then it gets real bad later in life as a result of the shit you did in the military's at minimum, they're on the hook for fixing it with VA healthcare. But then maximum, you can upgrade the disability rating by doing more paperwork and talking to a VSO and get money every month, because it may affect your employability too. It's really important that you do this shit while you're on active duty. Even if you think you're fine, even if you're still in 10 feet tall and bulletproof mode, like I was until almost the end, right? And then you don't think anything's wrong, go to medical and complain about the things that you think might be wrong or that are bugging you a little more than they did when you first joined or whatever, and get it documented and then submit the VA claim. And if they rate you at 0, they rate you at 0. Who gives a shit, right? But they're on the hook for fixing it if when you're 40, your knees are dust, right? So that's my pitch. I really hope a lot of you go do the damn thing, get it all documented, and then make them tell you you're fine. Make them tell you that you don't deserve a VA disability rating, because they probably won't, because you're probably wrong about not meriting it or not having anything wrong with you. With that, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I hope you're enjoying the series. If you have suggestions for topics, somebody you want me to talk to, whatever, for this series, hit me up. Don'tGiveUpShitPodcast@gmail.com. You can Facebook message us, Don't Give Up Shit Podcast, or you can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at DGUTSPodcast. If you want to support us, you can go to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button in the upper right-hand corner of the website, or you can go to Don't Give Up Shit Apparel. It's dgutsapparel.com, or you can just hit the shop button on dgutspodcast.com's website. It'll take you right there. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear actually wear in public, t-shirts, hats, all kind of, do we have hats? Maybe we have hats. I might have made that up. We definitely have shirts, hoodies, shower shoes, bags, all kinds of shit. And then probably the best way, patreon.com/DGUTSpodcast. Pick one of the 5 tiers, become a member today. The lowest tier is $5 a month. You get a bunch of free stickers. You get some like alert emails when episodes get published and some other benefits, Discord server stuff. It's $5 a month. Like it's a fucking latte a month. Like help us out. Like every little bit helps. We're almost at breaking even. It would be nice for this to be my job, but as of right now, I got a long way to go in that department. But everything helps, including if you can't spend money, go to everywhere. Subscribe, review us on podcast platforms, subscribe on YouTube, share the videos. I'm going to start editing videos today. Stop yelling at me. Stop yelling at the screen. I mean, if you're yelling at the screen, that means you see this, and that means I edited and uploaded videos, so I guess it's fine. But it's like, stop yelling at the audio that you're listening to. I'm gonna edit the videos. I'm sorry, I've been sick, and then all this other bullshit, and I haven't been sleeping well lately. But I'm getting around to it. I'm starting to. I feel like I'm starting to kind of come out of this shit show that has been my life for the last 2 months. So yeah, I'm gonna edit this video today. I'm gonna upload this video today, and then I'm gonna try to start working on the backlog probably today, tomorrow, over the weekend. Got to catch that NFL draft today, though. That's what I'm gonna be doing here in like 3 hours. But yeah, it's coming, and I promise I'm spinning back up. I feel like I'm starting to, I got some shit scheduled finally. Like I got some interviews inbound, besides this transition series. And then, I got some ideas for some topics for some other stuff. And then I finally have some time, outside of homework and school and stuff I'm going to read that book on the mutiny. I'm kind of getting back into my plan. So, yeah, with that, that's it. That's what I got for today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, shout out to all our level 5 patrons, Victoria Livingood, William McIver, and Mark Gallegos. To all our other patrons, we really appreciate your support. Helps to pay all the bills, expand the platform, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.